Hello, welcome back to Let's Play Phoenix Wright. The base attorney. Trials and Tribulations. I'm Luigi 64D. So, time to continue the trial. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Maggie Bird. Mr. Godot, your next witness, please. The prosecution calls the lucky old-timer who caught the show out over a cup of coffee. Will the witness please take the stand? It starts. Oh, name and occupation, if you don't mind. The name is Victor Kudo, born and bred in the land of the rising sun. Honor of duty is what make me. Mind you, it can be quite emotional at times. You don't need to hear about that, Mr. Kudo. Just tell the court your occupation. My occupation? Listen, young'un. How much you call you think? How do you oh wow. How much call do you think there is for kimono embroidery here? A kimono embroidery? That's pretty exotic. That's what I do, or did, back in Japan. I embroidered family crests and kimonos. My ancestors were embroidering kimonos before this country even existed. Wow, real craftsman. They're a dying breed. Respect, props where respect is due. Respect where props are due, yeah. Hey, maybe I can embroider my costume sometime. Anyway, like I said, there's not much demand for that kind of thing here. So I had to take a job working a cash register at a burger joint, pretending to smile. That burger joint would have been better off putting him on the kitchen. Now then, witness, were you in the restaurant at the time of the incident? Oh yes, I was eating some seeds with a cup of Javachino. Seeds? What do you think these are? I see. So you saw everything that happened, Gramps? Did I? Oh yes, I did. I saw it all. And please tell the court. We're all ears. Sure. I'll tell you every last detail. Oh, he's really getting into this. I'll tell you everything about what I witnessed. The young man was reading the sports paper. The servant girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. The man took one sip of it, looked what happened in terrible pain, and then collapsed. It's the servant girl, right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. Oh? Mr. Kudo, she is not a servant girl. Please refer to her as a waitress. Yeah, you're all bad as the rest of them. All these newfangled words. What's wrong with the old-fashioned ones, Newfangled? All this talk of radios and glasses, it's wireless and spectacles, I tell you. Excuse me. Listen to me, everyone. Don't forget the old values. Don't forget the good old days. Slip away. Well, I think it's time to get to the cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. I really don't know how to start with this guy. The young man was reading the sports paper. Yes, he was. So you saw the victim then? You saw Glenn Elk? I wanted to know if Gutsy Braun retained his championship or not. So he was looking at the sports paper the victim was reading, huh? And at the location of the question, there are partitions between tables at the same side of the restaurant, right? So what if there are? If you say that you could see the victim, that means you were sitting at the table on the other side of the restaurant, correct? I got to that place to drink Javachino. I'm going to sit. I don't remember what table I was sitting at. You mean you go there to eye the waitress? The serving girl brought the Javachino, but she put something in it. What? Mr. Kudo, this is a very grave accusation. Are you sure of what you saw? Victor Kudo never makes mistakes. I dot every T across every I. I see. I have so many questions. My eyesight's fine. The doctor always said I need spectacles for reading and driving. I bet his eyes are only really fine when he's scoping around the waitress. And I saw that serving girl put it into the Javachino as well. I bet I know what's coming up. Something tells me I'm not gonna like it. You know what? But for record's sake, Your Honor, we need more clarification on what was put into the victim's coffee. I'd like to ask what the victim add what he knows about this to his testimony. I agree. Witness, will you enlighten us, please? Sure. There's no question about it. She conspicuously put some white powder in there. Oh dear. Did she really put that in the coffee? You doubt me, boy? She took out a small brown bottle and sprinkled it in. Could she have been adding sugar? Sugar in a small brown bottle like that? Like that. Witness, could you please describe the bottle in more concrete terms? A bottle like this, perhaps? Oh, there it is. That's the one. Okay, that's leading the witness. That's a bottle of potassium cyanide, I presume. So what did the accused put into the coffee? I think it's clear, don't you? The man took out one sip of it. Looked like he was in terrible pain and then collapsed. Oh dear. He took just one sip? You youngins, you waste everything. This Javachinos cost $8. In the good old days, we would have drank every last drop, eaten the cup, and then died. Oh, congratulations. You have earned the title of battiest man to grace a courtroom. Female winner is Wendy Olbag. You two should meet up sometime. You'll have a great chance. So it was an immediate death. Well, potassium cyanide, I suppose that is possible. Yeah, it causes your heart to explode, I think. Just put it on test. Oh yes, He slumped over without so much of a twitch. He felt the Javachino had just drank turned sour in my stomach. Oh yes, I knew that feeling. And the waitress, I presume she is... That's the serving girl right over there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. Oh, do you? You said I remember her well in reference to the waitress. Did she have any particular features that you can identify her by? The particular features? It's a disgrace, that's what it is. Sorry? Like, kids you can see all the way up to her you know. Hang on, so the particular feature you recognize about the waitress is her outfit? But anyone could wear such a uniform, even me! Mr. Wright, please spare the court of any further mental anguish from that image. Don't get all excited, Nick. You gotta keep yourself together. I guess I got a bit carried away. There was a one time where I accused a baseball of being suspicious. Yeah, there are other things I recognize about her too. He seems pretty sure of himself. I would like to hear about that. Sure, you saw a waitress take the coffee to the victim. But what's the matter is whether that waitress was Maggie Bird or not. Quite right. Mr. Kudo, those other features that you recognize of the defendant. I would like to ask you to add to their testimony. Sure. There was a ribbon in her hair and her apron straps were loose. What? You do seem to remember several details about her appearance. But what about the most crucial detail of all, her face? As if I would remember that. The witness noticed the straps in the accused's apron. He's unlikely to make a mistake about her face. That's right, I can't even tell the color of the ribbon of her hair. It was red. As you can see, there's nothing wrong with the witness's eyesight. All of them are red. Probably. There's no doubt he remembers the waitress pretty well. What should I do? I should get the feeling there's something more to this. Let's ask about that apron. Okay, first off, I'm wondering why he didn't notice where that red stain came from. Let's ask about the straps. You know what? Let's ask about the waitress's back. So the identifying features are described as all things you would see from the back. So what? Is it possible that you never saw the waitress from the front at all?
Objection!
You got you there, Gramps. People normally talk about the facial features when they're trying to describe someone. But this witness testimony is nothing but straps and ribbons. This is harassment! I'll tell you I'm not obsessed with straps and ribbons! I'll just tell you what I saw! Yes, and that's generic. Mr. Kudo, the court requests that you add details of any identifying features. Features you observed from the front, that is, to your testimony. Sure. This old man's testimony is getting longer and longer. I can find a hole in it soon. It'll get even longer, I bet. There wasn't anything that would call my interest about her when I saw her from the front.
What? You didn't find anything to be distinct, but you did clearly see the witness's face, yes?
No question about it. I did come to this far to back down now. Victor Kudo never backs down. That's not the answer I was looking for, but okay. That has turned into a matter of pride for old Seedy now, I guess.
I wonder if he really did see Maggie's face or not.
Like I thought, we need some concrete proof of this. Proof that the old guy didn't see the witness clearly from the front.
Do you think old Seedy really saw Maggie do it?
Well, he probably had his eye on the waitress the whole time. That's why he was there.
But he was there for the cute outfits, right? Not the waitress.
I guess.
She makes a good point, though. Hey, did I just say something clever?
I wonder if the waitress that Mr. Kudo saw was really Maggie.
That's what he had to figure out, Nick.
So let's see. There was nothing... There wasn't anything caught my interest about her in the saw him in the front. Oh, not even ketchup? Mr. Kudo, I would like you to please take a look at this. The filthy thing would suit filth just like you just perfectly. Actually, it reminds me of what my grandson looked like, just after he's done eating.
Have you seen this before?
Of course I haven't. Do you think I'd forget something as dirty as that? Well, you half-witted clot! What? What is it? Ever since I said you half-witted clot, there's an eerie silence in here. Mr. Kudo, this apron is the apron worn by the defendant on the day of the poisoning. Uh-huh. And you just said yourself, you wouldn't forget something like this. Which means if you had really seen this apron before. Yes, you know what I'm getting at. You couldn't have possibly forgotten the waist from the front. Oops.
There's no oops.
Witness, you can't just oops your way out of this. Well. Looks like we finally have a genuine trial on our hands. Listen, Wright. Here are the facts. On the day of the incident, there was only one waitress at the restaurant. That being the defendant, Miss Maggie Bird. Exactly. And when that one waitress put the poison in the coffee cup, this old guy was watching. I hope you understand the gravity of the situation, Mr. Kudo. The fate of the defendant may rest on what you say you remember seeing. Just tell the court exactly what you saw, Gramps. You can rely on me, Captain. My nog is in perfect working order. I can't remember a single occasion where I forgot a burger a customer wanted.
You can't remember? Probably more like he's messed up so many times he's blocking it out.
It's all in the wording. Well, let's test just how good your memory and attention is to detail, Mr. Kudo. Just tell us what you remember about the victim. Let's see if that can match up. He was another one of those pesky young types wearing a broken pair of spectacles. He had a newspaper in his right hand and a noisy brat keep rustling in the pages. The young man was listening to wireless. I remember that well. It's not called the wireless. And the serving girl in question brought over the Javicino.
You're mixing your different times.
The little fidget
What?
picked up the cup with his free hand and took a sip.
Fidget?
The testimony we have just heard is the test of credibility, how credible the witness's memory is. It seems to me that he remembers the victim in a great deal of detail. Oh yes, I hate those you-know-what types who are so vague about everything.
How are we going to handle this, Nick?
We only need to do one thing. We just need to prove that this old man's memory is shot.
Just trip him up, you mean?
Isn't that kind of cruel?
I suppose.
But it's what I do best.
So I'm a lawyer. To point out the lies.
He was another one of those pesky young types wearing a broken pair of spectacles.
What? Spectacles?
Dark glasses to you. One of the lenses was green. The other one was broken. Newfangled rubbish is just why I remember him so well.
He did have some kind of lens over his left eye.
But I wouldn't have called it a pair of glasses. He seems to have been wearing some rather modern-looking shades. Perhaps I should take some wearing some to rival Mr. Godot's sharp appearance.
Ha! You better come up with something sharp and quick. guess we'll need to wait to figure out the challenge about the spectacles.
He had a newspaper in his right hand, and the noisy brat kept rustling his pages.
Or did he? The newspaper was the sports paper, was it?
You young hooligan! I nearly asked him can't you even read without fidgeting, Well, I was supposed to be able to read that back page with all the rustling going on. I need to find out if Gustin Braun retained this championship title.
It was his paper, not yours. You wanted to know so bad, why didn't you just buy your own?
What are you looking at me like that for, How dare you judge me?
Ow, 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 ow. Gustin Braun got beaten yesterday, by the way. Anyway.
The young man was listening to the wireless. Remember that well?
The wireless?
The decadent young rascal. Friday, it was one or the other. Read the paper or listen to the wireless. Oh boy. I'm using an earpiece. It's selfish, that's what it is. It was straining the ears, but I couldn't catch any of it.
Was he that desperate to listen to the radio?
What are you looking at me like that for, How dare you feel sorry for me?
Oh, ow, not that, no.
And the serving girl questioned about over the Javicino.
You mean the waitress, who you only saw from behind, right?
You're one of those, are you? You never let anything go, is that right?
Maybe.
What does it matter if I saw it from the front or behind? I don't lie.
Ow, stop that. Ow. Better not push it until I got some hard evidence.
The little fidget picked up his cup with his free hand and took a sip. Oh?
His free hand?
Yes.
Which hand was that?
Weren't you listening before? Cloth ears? I said he was wrestling the paper with his right hand, didn't I? His free hand was his right hand, whose right hand was it, moron?
Ow, stop.
Perhaps the great Mr. Wright has 3 hands.
Yeesh, I was only asking. No need to gang up on me and treat me like a freak. The whole point of this cross-examination is to establish just one thing. That this old guy's memory has more holes in a slice of Swiss. I guess we just need to find a contradiction in the testimony somewhere, huh? Anything will do. Even the smallest detail. We just need one mistake and he's ours. One of those pesky dudes with a broken pair of spectacles. The newspaper in his right hand and noisy brat kept rustling his papers. Nope, that's his.
Okay. Doodle. Weird. Okay. Carry on.
He was listening to the radio. Then she brought the Javicino. Then he picked up the cup with his free hand. I'm gonna look at that cup. Okay, so let me get this straight. So let's think about this here. I think I see it. With his right hand, just imagine this. You're at the coffee shop. With your right hand, you're holding the newspaper and scanning through it and flipping through it, right? So then you're giving your coffee. You'd use your left hand, right? Now pretend to take a sip. Okay? Now look at that cup of coffee in your hand. Exactly which side of the coffee cup is it on? Mr. Kudo, do you remember what you were told at the start of this testimony? That this was a way of testing the credibility of your memory?
I know. There's nothing wrong with my memory, I tell you. Nothing! If I got anything wrong, I'll eat these seeds and sing the pigeon song. Care to tell us where this is going, Troit?
According to Mr. Kudo, the victim was holding the papers in his right hand, while drinking the cup of coffee with his free hand, which would make it his left.
What is that? Kindergarten?
But I would like the court to please take a look at this. This is the cup the victim used, correct? Yes. And on the rim, you'll notice the mark left by the victim's lips. Yes. Yes, there is a stain left by the coffee. If you consider where the stain is, you'll clearly see that the victim was holding it with his right hand. But how? Well, Mr. Kudo, the court is waiting for your epic performance. You said you'd eat those seeds and sing the pigeon song.
Mr. Kudo, I'm
I'm afraid this is simply not acceptable. I think the witness had better go back to the park where he came from. Wait! What? I do think you're going to stand here and listen to you tell me you're mad? You're wrong. I don't care with the dirty coffee cup. I know what I saw. You still insist on your testimony? The young brat was holding a cup of coffee in his left hand. Oh yes, no question. It was good law-abiding citizen I am. This dead young hotbot and you spiky hair yahoo, you're at fault. Who, me? Thank you, old man, but we've heard quite enough of you already. Don't call me old man, old man. Been around for 68 years I have, you can't ignore me. Listen to what I've got to say. I'm sorry, Mr. Crudeau, but... Sure, why not hear a little more? Mr. Crudeau! But this is my 16th cup of coffee. So this is your final stand. Thank you, Captain. I can rely on Victor. Oh, he's got some energy. It's the left hand or the right? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. He kept fiddling with it all the time. He was fiddling with it just because he picked up the coffee, too. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand. What? I know the victim was wearing his unusual monocle on his left eye. It wasn't a monocle, Your Honor. It was a small computer monitor, often used by programmers. A monitor? You mean like a television screen? The inside of the lens is a screen that displays computer data. It's called an HMD. It's a common tool for the victim's line of work. HD, TV, DVD, CD. The all newfangled letters drive me mad. But they don't matter. I know what I saw and I'm telling the truth. It's true. He doesn't seem to be lying. And those are the facts in good old black and white. I think you gotta get some high-res truth. The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. The left? So the victim was wearing an HMD. HDTV, CTV, what does it matter? It was none of them actually, but anyway. And you're sure that he was wearing the earpiece on the same side? No questions. I could only see this side of his head from where I was sitting. Yeah, that's pretty obvious if you look at the floor plans. From the opposite table, he'd only be able to view the side of the victim's head. He kept fiddling with it all the time. It seems you kept an eye on Mr. Glen Elk. It was getting on my nerves. Pressing the paper and the fiddling of the earpiece all the time. Then he went and made a fuss, dying from one sip of Javachino. I wanted to say to him, calm down, you young brat. Just looking at him made me suddenly speed up my seed eating. I could have choked. So I take it the victim was a walking ball of nervous energy. He was fiddling with it just before he picked up the cup, too. Oh? The earpiece you mentioned, which hand was the victim touch it with? You're one of those people. One of those people who uses his left hand to get things out of his right pocket. Or fastens his left cuff with his right hand. But when your tour guide says, "Look on your right side, you'll see the famous blah blah." And you're the only one who deliberately looks left. Well, aren't you? No, I didn't mean... Obviously, he used the hand the same piece the earpiece was in. Ow, stop the bullet seed. Ow. So if he had the MD on his left side, that means left hand, I guess. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand. But that doesn't make sense. You seem very sure of yourself, Mr. Crudeau. That's because I know what I saw, no matter what tricks he tried to play on me. It looks like he really did see the guy picking up the cup with his left hand. This is the dead end. Well, Nick, what do you think? I think the guy's telling the truth. But even so, something's not quite right. Then chuck evidence at him until he breaks. But if he's not lying, there wouldn't be any contradiction to his testimony, right? Okay, this doesn't make sense, though. So he kept fiddling with this thing. Okay. So he was sitting there at the table. Kept fiddling with this thing. Okay. There's some cyanide. Empty. Ticket. Okay. That was with his right hand. Because that's how you drink with your right hand, but it was with his left. Then... Okay. Okay, so he saw it in his right. Gotcha. Okay. Because those are the floor plans. Okay. Potassium cyanide. He's not lying then. Fiddling with it. He was fiddling with it just before he picked up the cup. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup. His left hand.
Okay, so he kept fiddling with it. He was reading the paper while messing with the thing, while messing with his radio, his earpiece. And then he went to pick it up. Okay.
The boy's wearing his earpiece on the same side as the green lines of his specs.
Okay. So his earpiece and the specs are from the same thing.
He's listening to the radio through that.
But his left eardrum was...
Wait a minute. His left eardrum was ruptured? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's a contradiction. That's a massive contradiction. That just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, sir, but... No. You're lying. I'm not sure what the relevance of this is, but... Mr. Kudo, there's something very strange about your observations of the victim. What? You say he was wearing the earpiece on the same side of the HMD.
You're a Christian. You can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt. I can only see the side of his head from where I was sitting.
I don't think so. What did you say? You're no doubt unaware of this fact, Mr. Kudo, but the victim couldn't hear with his left ear. His eardrum was ruptured! Eh?
Traces of medication for his condition was found in his ear canal.
That's right. It's impossible for the victim was wearing his earpiece on his left ear. Because he couldn't even hear in that ear! Is that true, Captain?
It is.
Pigeon! Pigeon!
Yes! So satisfying. Order! Order! Order!
This witness's testimony is completely unreliable. He only saw the waitress from behind. And he claims the victim was wearing an earpiece when he knew his eardrum... when we know his eardrum was ruptured. Well, Mr. Godot? A single drop of milk is all it takes to destroy the pure black magic in the cup. This old man is my drop of milk. Captain, are you calling me a trip? Yes. Wow, that's the lame pun. So this victim's coffee cup was in the potassium cyanide was found? The mark on the rim clearly shows the victim picked it up with his right hand. I'll never back down, I know I'm right. The lad drank his Javaccino with his left hand. Let me put you out of your misery. Clearly the victim has used both hands. He took a sip of the cup with his right hand and then switched to his left. That's what the old man saw. No. Impossible. The witness had already testified on numerous occasions that the victim died immediately after taking just one sip of the coffee. Which hand the victim used to pick up his cup is irrelevant, Your Honor. The facts still stand. With one hand or the other, Mr. Elk drank the poisoned coffee. Don't squander that last cup. Sadly, Mr. Godot, that doesn't wash. The point of this testimony was to establish whether the witness's memory was credible. And the results are clear. The testimony given by this witness is useless.
I believe it is time to conclude today's proceedings. I'm satisfied that the witness is not deceiving the court, but to be frank, his testimony is a farce. Did you have to be so frank? I take that, you pompous old fogey. I am sorry, Mr. Godot. You can't reach me from there. I'm ordering the defense and the prosecution to investigate this case further. This is all for now. This court is adjourned.
Yes. Come on.
Wait! It'll stop now. Where does this leave me?
Leave you, Mr. Kudo.
Thanks to that blue-suited young upstart over there. I'm just a bumbling old man who can't even dot his T's or cross his I's now.
How is your bad memory my fault?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kudo, but there's nothing I can do.
I kept my mouth shut until now. But there's something else the court should know. What? There's more? To be perfectly honest, there might not be anything. But I wanted to show another chance. I want another crack at you, you young shark. Me? He's looking right at me with some sort of some sort of evil shogun.
Well, everyone, what do you have to say for one final showdown? Final chapter of the eccentric old man's scrapbook. Sorry, Gramps. I've already had my 17th cup of coffee. What have you got to lose, Captain? I'll give you all the coffee you want if you come to my house after the trial. I may be 16 years old, but Victor Kudo is still a man. That's enough, witness. I believe it will be quicker for the court to just hear your testimony. You bet. Much, much quicker.
I can't believe this is happening.
You better get ready, youngster.
I get the picture. Just quit throwing those seeds at me, would you? He's gotta be using some sort of infinite ammo code for the box of seeds.
Alright, so what's the deal? First of all, I want to stress that this might be nothing. I'm not too sure myself. The young boy slumped over at the table as soon as he took one sip of the Javachino. Well, the clumsy idiot upset the vase, knocked it right over. It broke, and the strip of cloth covering the table got completely soaked. Well, how about that? Turn things upside down, hmm?
What?
Is that all? Yes, that's all. I remember it perfectly. Eh? You're doubting me again? You're doubting your poor defenseless old man? No, we're not doubting you, Mr. Kudo.
Don't you get the feeling there's a question hanging in everyone's lips, Nick?
Yeah. So what? Probably. That's all I can think of. And I gotta cross-examine this guy? You're a bird brain, that's why you all could think of. Very well, Mr. Wright. Your final cross-examination, please.
Oh, what is the deal? So what? But I know it's something important, right?
First of all, I want you to stress this might not be nothing. I'm not too sure of myself.
Okay. The court generally prefers if witnesses are sure of themselves, Mr. Kudo.
Noisy brat! I'm warning you, I'm more savage than the Macho Man right now. You won't beat me with this testimony. It's the final battle.
Ow! What? Ow! Ow! He's chucking those seeds harder than ever. I better be careful. Come on, Nick. Nail him.
The young boy slumped over his table as soon as he took one sip of his Javachino.
Okay. The court has already heard this testimony, Mr. Kudo.
I know that. I was just setting the mood. How else am I supposed to build up the suspense, hmm?
The suspense?
Isn't it enough? Should I work the audience a bit more? No. Please continue, Mr. Kudo, as quickly as possible. Alright, and where was I? Oh, yes. The young boy slumped over at the table, and... well, the clumsy idiot upset the vase. He knocked it right over.
And? A vase, you say?
Yes. There's vases on all the tables in that place. The accident's waiting to happen. They're practically begging to be knocked over.
Well, he's right about that. There being vases. I do remember seeing them too. There were many flowers. There was a vase on the table when I ate lunch there. And you saw the moment when the victim actually knocked over the vase.
Well, it's hard to say. It's a bit unclear. But how do you really define...
Okay, I get it.
I heard it break. The side of it burned into memory as clear as day. It broke and the strip of cloth covering the table got completely soaked.
Oh? Soaked in water, you mean?
Yes, it splashed me on the knee as well.
You said you were sitting at the table across from the room of the victim, correct? And yet the water still managed to splash onto you?
It was cold, clearly I remember it splashing me.
Could the water really make it all that way across the other side of the room?
Well, how about that? Turn things upside down, hmm?
What? You mean the vase on the victim's table falling upside down and breaking?
The vase turned upside down, and my testimony turning the case upside down. It's a joke. So I just wanted to hear it. What do you think, Captain?
I'm impressed
By your ability to waste time.
Doe hasn't raised any objections for a while now.
So, you young show-off, with a scrap of information I'm throwing down the gauntlet. If I lose this one, I'll take it like a man and admit defeat.
He's really giving you the evil eye, Maya.
Is he always looking at Nick, not me?
It's like he's saying, I triple dog dare you to find a contradiction, youngin'. You'll just have to rise to the challenge, then.
Let's rise from the ashes of this poor broken vase.
What's weird is that the vase wasn't broken back then. Okay. So let's see. He knocked over the vase.
And? What's the point?
Crime photo. How? Gotta be kidding me. What are you even? This doesn't make sense. But... You gotta be kidding me. I feel so embarrassed to point this out.
Mr. Kudo,
This is a photograph of the crime scene.
so what?
Look carefully at the table. The vase is there. Intact.
Huh?
Lost your tongue, Granddad?
I'm no granddad of yours, hopscotch!
Ow, 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 stop that!
Enough! If you throw any more seeds in this court, the cleaners will be here all night.
What is it now?
I just remembered something.
Yes, go on.
The broken vase.
It was on my table.
What?
Well, you see... It startled me when the young lad collapsed. So I stood up. It must have been when it fell over. The vase on my table, I mean.
The vase on your table?
Yes, it was on my table. And that's how my groin came to be completely soaked. You got to be kidding me. Thank you, Mr. Kudo. You certainly earned your kudos for today.
I'd like to ask the question now. Have I been any use at all?
Perhaps that's something you should reflect on yourself, Mr. Kudo.
Wait a minute! If that's the case, then there's more. I've got more to say.
Oh, yes. I remember something else. Bailiff, escort the witness out of the courtroom.
Wait! Listen to me!
Well, you seem to have been considerably sidetracked. And I am still not on the position to deliver a verdict. The defendant has not been positively identified as the waitress in question. Additionally, there are two disparities in the testimony we have heard thus far. The mark of the coffee cup, and the victim supposedly drank from his left hand, and the earpiece, which was inserted in his left ear, out of which he couldn't hear.
Wow, Nick. You did it!
I therefore require both the defense and the prosecution to further investigate the facts. Yes, Your Honor. There's one more thing before I call today's session to an end.
One more thing, Your Honor?
The witness we just heard from. He's most insistent that his testimony should be of use. So I summarize it according to this statement. Okay. May even have a copy of it, if you wish. Whatever. The prosecution doesn't need props like that.
Godot's really mad, huh?
Yeah, I would be too. Very well. Here you are then, Mr. Wright. There are 3 copies. My own, yours, and Mr. Godot's.
Yes, Your Honor. Put in haiku, naturally. I'm sorry? This isn't a piece of testimony, more like a 5-year-old apology.
Okay, now I gotta get this.
When the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm sorry. Okay. Sure.
What the heck are we supposed to do with 3 copies?
That is all. The court is adjourned. Finally.
Was that even a testimony? Did that...
Boy. Okay. So that happened. On Luigi found 64D. And, we shall end this off in haiku. That's not even a haiku, actually. So just remember, no matter what, even if your testimony is useless, you're still able to print it out on a card. And the courtroom will apparently help you. So there's that. This is Let's Play Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations, and see you next time. We get to investigate.